anything that can come from us. So that's just only know. And then we'd have to take, the transfer ordinance as we've done before to get these monies to the water and sewer authorities. So thank you, Councilman.
I agree with you, Mayor. I think, we do have to take a look at this. I don't know, Mike, I take it that the county still hasn't come forward with anything yet?
The county actually has come forward. They have allocated $250,000 to each authority. Now, they did that consistent across every municipal authority in the county. So for instance, Jersey Shore gets 250 for water, 250 for sewer, LCWSA 250 water, 250 for sewer. So they have made an initial donation or contribution, allocation, I guess is the word I'm looking for, to municipal authorities.
Okay, so the 730 will help a little bit. I think after the first of the year, when we get a spreadsheet of where we stand with the ARPA funds, I think that's when we'll take a second look at this. But I think you could use the check at this point now to see where you're going, especially since you've started stormwater and working on that. So therefore, it's a little bit of change. I did see the email that you sent down of so much of what you need to get done. We knew this was going to be expensive. I think a lot of people don't even realize that these are mandates. These are not things that you're doing on a whim. It's like the Chesapeake Bay project. My gosh, you are still, how many, have you at least crossed the 100 million where you're down below that yet? Or are you still at over 100 million for that one? I mean, that was a lot of money from what I understand.
With the
I'm throwing something at you that I know you don't have in front
with
of
the
you.
Chesapeake Bay, we those projects to conform to the Chesapeake Bay Pollution Reduction Plan, we ballpark those at about 5 million. Now, mind you, you guys are working very well. We are working very well with Loyalsock Township. We pay 35%, they pay 65% because we're joint permittees. So we've been doing a very good job. I think you will see us hit our compliance mark in about 4 years of the 5-year permit, if I'm remembering this correctly. So it's going along very well. Now, I will tell you also, we're not over complying. I don't want anybody to get the idea that we're going above and beyond. We are meeting the regulations, no more, no less.
No, I'm talking, you know what I'm talking about, Mike? I'm talking about 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, when that came down, where so many things had to be changed and how much it cost.
Oh, correct.
To do all of that.
When we had to do the upgrades at our plant, which was about
Exactly.
$130 million. No, we still are carrying the debt for that. So that is a line item. And I'm sorry, I went off on the wrong speech. That's a line item in our budget that we're covering the debt and costs.
That's the debt that I was talking about, because that was a huge debt. It was a hard hit at the time.
Correct.
And and still paying for it how many years later. And there are other mandates that have come down in the long run. So,
and those mandates still continue. And I know this is this is a wonderful donation for us. I mean, this is by far one of the bigger investments of funds that we've received from the ARPA funds. I think it's very prudent and shows some foresight on council that one of the things that you giving us money to the water authority, one of the things that is still very cheap and affordable for the city residents is water. So we are providing an excellent water product. Your infusion of money will help us replace mains, help assure that water service remains reliable and keeps the rates for everybody in the Williamsport area low. So yeah, we are very appreciative on behalf of the board. We thank you for your investment and appreciate your forethought and helping us out with this.
We're also, we should be very appreciative as far as living here. We have the best water and we also have the least expensive in the state. And to say that, I think our citizens here should be very happy, because we do have good water all the way around. So I want to thank you very much, Mike, for being here. And Eric, wherever you are, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Bonnie, if I may, I had a quick question.
Sure.
Mike, while we've got you here, obviously we know what the county's allocated toward helping with this specifically. You see what the city's looking to allocate toward helping the water authority get up to speed. up to speed. But as far as, are there any other agencies within the city, any other organizations within the city that have reached out and said, hey, we want to help Williamsport to get its water out there? We do have, I would argue, the best water and the most affordable water. And I think that we're nowhere near producing as much water as we're capable of, correct?
We can produce up to 12 million gallons a day. We are presently selling 5 million gallons. So the communities, and remember, the water authority is multi-municipal. So we provide water to Loyalsock, South Williamsport, to Boys Town, Old Lake Cumming. It's greater in the city of Williamsport. We're only selling 5 million gallons or using 5 million gallons of the 12 million capacity that we have. So we have a significant reserve of water that we could use for economic development. I have not yet received any other outside help or assistance that could help us expand our range.
Okay, that would certainly help us too with incurring some of the costs needed to get the water authority up to snuff with these regulations and some of these other monetary burdensome charges that we're getting hit with, correct?
You're correct. I mean, expanding our service or increasing our usage, those costs help contribute to the whole system as a whole. So it keeps the rates low. The more that we can sell, those costs are amortized across our current rate users. So we're very blessed. I mean, for those of you who are familiar, we have a watershed, a privately owned watershed, which is very rare, of 10,053 acres. And we have 2 giant reservoirs up there that you can see, and you can also take advantage of the fact that we have a well field system that can also service our needs. So we have abundant amounts of water. We just need some industry, some water intensive businesses to come in and use that would help us all out.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Just something I try to keep in the back of my mind as we move forward with looking to help develop Williamsport.
Thank you, Vince. Does anyone else have any questions for Mike at all? I see nobody else raising hands or anything. Mike, I want to thank you very much for being here today. Okay.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. And thank you, Eric. You all
Thank you,
take care
guys.
now. The next item on the agenda is a resolution to follow municipal records manual. Mayor, this is you're up.
Yes, good afternoon again, Chairwoman Katz and Councilman Pizzi. What this is simply a resolution that Austin White actually brought to our attention, myself and Chris Black, as we were working through some of the digital files and things of that nature. We asked about record retention. We asked Austin White, who's our city solicitor, about record retention, scanning, digitizing, shredding, etc. And he brought this to our attention where the state, we can actually just adopt this, what the state has actually provided, and then we just follow this municipal records, and then we're in compliance with everything. So this resolution literally is exactly down from the state. Austin's reviewed it and he said, now we have the, I don't know, 100 and some pages, I believe it is, of compliance as we move in. Obviously, council has approved the purchase of, for you all, whether it's iPads or whatever technology you determine, and the city continues to move towards digitization. We now know we'll have this in place for what records we need to retain, what we can shred, what we can, all the various rules and regulations around public records. So this was really brought forward per Austin's suggestion, and this is the resolution that's before you.
Vince, do you have any questions?
Not at this time. Just a statement to say is that I think this is something that's certainly needed to be brought forward and implemented here. So we have a standard procedure to follow, just to make sure that everything's being done right.
Well, from what I understand, and Janice, are you on the phone?
Yes.
Aren't
Yes.
you keeper of the records?
Yep, and yeah, I think I talked to Chris Black about that when he was coming in here and counting all the files. And I said, you know, there's a resolution out there that we can destroy some records, but we just have to bring it forward.
Well, this is something that I think needs to be done from the standpoint of, it's like I do in my house with everything, with all the paperwork and everything. There's some things you keep and some things, you know, can be shredded. And I can imagine the paperwork that you have accumulated, how much is there, and also to
Yeah.
digitize. Mayor, are we going to start digitizing this?
As we move forward, actually, Chris Black is working on an RFP right now for the digitization of files and shredding and different things. And this, not just within the city clerk's office, but obviously throughout the city as a whole. So whether in public works or finance or codes or community development. So this would cover all of the departments, and depending on what the record, different timeframes apply. So this would, as to Councilman Plizzi's point, this would make sure that we're following the procedure across the board, not just within one department or one segment of the city. And so that was our initial question to Austin as we work through this process. And as we start to digitize, if we come across files from, the mayor's office in 1982, what do we need to keep and what don't we? So this right here, it has that, everything is within this document. And per Austin, as long as we follow this process and this procedure, we'll be good. So we have not started to, at this point, go through all of the old files from yesteryear, in a sense that, to start to go through them to digitize. However, I think we're going to start moving forward with that in a not too distant future, particularly as council now starts to get technology, we can start to do that. And so as we prepare the RFP, we just want to make sure we don't get the cart in front of the horse, and make sure that we have all these types of resolutions in place so that we don't inadvertently destroy a file that we need to keep, or vice versa.
This could possibly be a good job for internship.
Right, I don't disagree with that. So as we get to that point, if we have some files that can be digitized with an intern, and depending on the how large of a project it turns out to be, I would agree with that, Councilwoman Katz. So I think it's really going to depend upon when we get to that point within each of the departments and what we're looking at. And I see Chris has just turned on the screen, so I'll stop here. I think he wants to add something.
Yes, good afternoon. I recently did a count of filing cabinets and bankers boxes and so forth over at City Hall. And there was well over 180 4-drawer filing cabinets that were full of stuff, and over 200 banker boxes that were stuffed full. And it's going to cost you a considerable fortune just to digitize all of that as is. It's going to need to be gone through by each department on what needs to be saved, what doesn't need to be saved. If it's associated with an address, it's no longer with a building that's no longer on that particular address, it can all go away. Payroll records only need to be kept for so long. Same way with accounts payable and HR records and so forth. And some of them you must destroy after a certain time period. So that needs to be gone through first on what we have to keep, as opposed to what we need to get rid of or can get rid of before we can even get a handle on how much this is going to cost. As it sits right now, if we digitized everything and had it all categorized that we could actively research every little bit of it, you're looking at $500,000 just to get that part of it done.
So
Well,
that,
it's a lot of hours also, a ton of hours.
Oh,
I
yeah.
helped one company many, many years ago start doing that with records. And it's time consuming. It's, you sit there sometimes and is this good? Is the right? We should have it digitized.
yeah, and that's why we want to start to work toward that process. It's to your point, Councilwoman, up front, it's going to be some hours, but once that's in place, it's going to streamline, so much of our time and save us an incredible amount of work hours once we all have this in a digital format. So yeah, a little upfront time, but after that, it should be extremely efficient from that point forward. We just obviously council approved last week with the HR software and financial software. So we started to head in that direction. And we just want to make sure we have everything in place, making sure we're keeping what we need to keep, destroy what we need to destroy as we move through all of these records.
Well, it's a good thing there's a manual to follow here. That's a
I
good thing.
completely,
Yes.
yeah, I completely agree. We didn't,
Yeah.
Chris and I didn't realize that. We called Austin. He said, well, there's a manual. And we said, actually, no, we didn't, but that's a beautiful thing. So now we have this manual in place, which is exactly what we were looking for. So now that we have it and can just follow that. So if council has a question, or administration has a question, we have the manual to refer to and make sure we're adhering to the law.
Fantastic. Well, it's like I said, it's going to be interesting to see the project go forward and also the time it's consumed. And like Chris said, the amount of money that's going to take. You're not going to know that until you start the project. You really not, because Chris did you did an eyeball on the departments, but to actually go into things, that's when you'll find out the exact dollar, not exact, but at least closer amount of what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
Is there no other discussions? Vince, do you have any questions at all?
Not
No.
at this time.
Okay. If there's no other questions on this, I want to thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chris. The last item on the agenda is any related items. Does anyone have anything to bring forward?
I
for the
got a couple,
administration.
Bonnie, I got a couple things. Well,
I
one
was
thing.
just going to go to you, Scott. I figured you were here for some reason.
I'm just putting it out there that our brush pile, we have to close for the remainder of the year due to the fact that it is full. So I have the grinder set up to come in January 3rd. Hopefully it should take about a week and then we'll be reopen again.
Okay.
That's really all I have.
Well, people should be busy with Christmas at this point, not getting all their decorations up and everything, and then get their tree limbs out come after January 2nd. So that to get it out, are you going to put in at least have Mark Maroney do a story that the brush pile is closed for the rest of the year? Just
Yes,
get in touch base with him that it can be put in the paper, and also so on our website so people know that that it's not going to be available. People get upset when they drive up to something and it's closed.
Yep, I'll put a
Okay.
release out to all the media, Councilwoman, noting that.
Fantastic. Because people do get upset when
Yep.
things are not the way they should be when they think it should be. Did that make sense? I hope so. If there's nothing else on the agenda, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
See you all on Thursday. Y'all take care now.